The Turbo and 2K Show.
What's up, 2K crew? Yes, we are back again. 2 weeks in a row, 2Ks. And if you are watching on on YouTube, which there are 4 of you. I want to give you a big shout out and say thank you. But you can kind of see where our setup's a little bit more normal, a little bit what you're used to. But 2Ks, how you doing, brother?
Good.
It's been a rough weekend for me. I mean, there were some good things. There were some really bad things. Some of the bad things include my FanDuel account and obviously Notre Dame looking like the worst team in the nation. That is absolutely horrible. Some of the good things, Saban lost. That's always huge.
Dodgers lose.
Yankees lose. I mean,
Yes.
We've got a ton of shit to talk about this week, ladies and gentlemen. But before we dive into that, I do want to give a big shout out to the Marcellus News and Miss Kay McAdam for letting us enjoy this fantastic new space. So I hope you're enjoying it as much as we are. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and give us a sub. There's the little bing, 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 bing. And head on over to marcellusnews.com, and you can either sign up for a virtual subscription where it gets emailed to you, or you can actually sign up for a print edition of the Marcellus News. So if you're a local, I don't know why the hell you're not subscribed to it. And if you're not a local, I mean, hey, might as well. You can get to see what's happening in the Marcellus News, and you also get to take a gander at my weekly article in there. And if you guys and gals are feeling extra saucy, go to buyturboabeer.com and you can buy 2Ks and I a beer, and you'll be financially supporting the channel as well. So 2Ks, I'm totally out of practice here. There we go. There's our normal graphics up, everybody. What do you think? And for those of you on the audio side, you're like, Turbo, what the hell are you talking about? Well, if you are on the audio only side, head on over, give us a sub over on YouTube, and you can participate in the chat. And I will, when you do comment, I will throw it up. So it looks something like this. So yeah, and the more interaction you guys do, the more fun it is for us. So let's get a conversation started, ladies and gentlemen. But 2Ks, let's start it off with, let's talk some baseball. I have a feeling that if you filled out a postseason bracket, you were wrong. I guess that's why they say you play all 162 and all of that jazz. And because we saw right out the gate, we saw the defending champions go down to the Phillies, and okay, that's because there's one too many W's there, jerk. I was like, why is ESPN down? There it is. And we saw a 111 win team in the Dodgers go down 2Ks. Yankees are down 2-1. I think they're playing right now against the Guardians. And as far as just what's your biggest takeaway out of everything so far, 2Ks?
Oh, I mean, easily the Dodgers. We talked about it last week that they're arguably the best team ever assembled in baseball. You go out and they win 111 games, like they have no holes, and they're gone. I mean, I basically said last week, if they don't win the World Series, it's a bust. That's all there is to it. And there they go out and they don't even make it past their first round.
So do you think it was? Do you think the curse of Turbo and 2Ks hit yet again?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we do have a pretty good track record of jinxing extremely good teams. So yeah, it might be a combination of everything. But and then just jumping right off the page is like, yes, they made the big splash for Soto, but I think what's been the most valuable part of this Padres team has been Josh Hader.
Yeah.
And he did not have the start to the season that he.
Well, the start to the trade. I mean, as soon as before the trade, he was great. And then he slides over to San Diego, and it was like, what has happened? This is not the Josh Hader that we've been watching for 4 or 5 years now. And then all of a sudden, he clicked, and he hasn't given up a run in like.
I don't think so.
I mean, it's over a month now. I think that since he's given up a run, so team's scary. And this is a team we talked about it a lot last week too. They don't even have Tatis there yet.
No.
And they know what they have. They have to go through that Dodgers team, and they've set themselves up. And that's why they made that deal to bring Soto over. And it wasn't even just Soto; it was Brandon Drury that comes with that deal also. And they've bolstered the pitching staff. It seems like every offseason going in, so they know that they have to go through that lineup, and they've set themselves up. And the exciting thing for them that I think the Dodgers don't have is the Dodgers are going to start to lose some of these guys.
Yeah.
And some of the guys that they have are aging to where this San Diego team, they're only going to continue to get better. They're so young, and we haven't even seen Tatis the whole season.
Well, they're young and they're locked up. Mm-hmm. You look at aside from Soto, but we kind of imagine that you don't make that trade without having the ambition to re-sign him. But the Slam Diego, dude, Slam Diego. I mean, how could you not like this team? I mean, they're young, they're energetic. Blake Snell is he seems to show up like the last week or the last month of a season and then continue it on into the playoffs. Darvish has had a Darvish-like year, kind of under the radar, I think, because not a lot of people talked about him. But it was good to see him back. And just, that was a huge, huge series win. And did not go the way that I think Kyler and Rich would have thought or would have liked. But that was quite a series. And to kind of piggyback off that, man, the Phillies just pretty much demolished the Braves. Did not see that coming. One of the good parts about that Braves team is they keep signing their young kids just for astronomically bargain basement kind of deals. I want to say it was before the series started. They signed was it Strider that they locked up, and everyone in baseball is wondering how in the hell the Braves are doing this, considering the salaries that some of these guys are garnering, and you're signing a young player to a pretty much a long deal right out the gate. Fuck arbitration. Let's just nail this guy down. We want him for his whole career, which I think is on the Braves side of things. That's a really awesome way to do it because you don't have to worry about arbitration. There's no real bad blood or any rifts between the front office and said players. So, if I guarantee that most GMs would like to do that, but it's a huge gamble as well. Huge gamble. But when you got talent like that, and it seems like just there's like 2 or 3 a year that pop up, whether they're pitchers, position players, that are just that their farm system has got to be ungodly, and so we're probably not because I mean, I'm sure if you pulled everyone outside of Philly and outside of Atlanta or outside of San Diego, we're going to see Braves, Dodgers. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of the series that we all wanted to see. I mean, those are, they were the two best teams in the National League, both gone. The Mets lost the last round. Mm-hmm. So there's over 300 wins right out of the playoffs. Seems like the only 100-win team we have left is the Astros. I was really proud of the Mariners, dude.
Yeah.
They played a hell of a series. Hell, last night's game went, 18 innings?
Yeah.
The Astros win 1-0.
1-0, yeah.
Now, kind of the thing that jumps off the page to me the most is the Astros scored 1 run and had 11 hits. Granted, that's over 18 innings, but you would think with 11 hits you would be able to string something around. And no, I mean that Mariners team's again young. Mm-hmm. I mean, J-Rod is absolutely amazing. Their pitching staff is legit. I mean, to be able to keep the Astros to 1 run in 18 innings, and obviously they didn't score until the 18th inning. So I know it's been 20 years, Mariners fans, since you guys have had a series. You got one. Don't be disappointed.
Yeah.
Don't be disappointed. If you would have polled any baseball fan at the beginning of the year, they would have not put your team in the playoffs or even close. So, and it's a big building block. A lot of these kids haven't been there. Just haven't been there just because, A, the team has been awful lately. And the ones that went through it with that team now add these super young guys that haven't had a chance yet. So sky's the limit, guys. Sky is the limit. It is not falling. Trust me. And like I said, the Yankees and Guardians are playing right now, bottom of the fourth. Yankees are up 3-2. 3-2. So, man, you can't count out Tito. You really can't. And it pains me to say that because he obviously was my Red Sox coach for quite a while, and some video games and chicken wings and stuff like that got in the way. But I'm very content and very happy with the current manager. So big shout out to you, Tito. We love you. And let's do this. Well, we can do it on the National League side, 2Ks. Give us your thoughts on how everything's going to go down. Phillies, Padres.
Oy.
And
both teams are hot. I mean, that's the thing. It's hard to pick one. If I had to pick the better team, and who I think has the better staff, I think it's the Padres at this point. But arguably two of the hottest teams in all of baseball. I mean, coming off the end of the season and then going into this playoff stretch, and the teams that they've knocked out and sent home. I mean, the Padres have sent home the Mets and they've sent home the Dodgers. I mean, that's a tough one. I think it could go either way. It would not shock me to see that series go 7. But I think I have to give the nod to the Padres just because I think for sure they have the better offense, but I also give them the nod when it comes to their pitching staff also.
Just to kind of give you a little bit more insight here. Padres were an 89-win team. Phillies were an 87-win team. It seemed to me like this Phillies team obviously started out the gate horribly. Joe Girardi gets canned, which I think you and I can both agree that Girardi's probably a Hall of Fame manager when it's all said and done. So for him to end like that is kind of odd. And one would think that this team would just fall apart, which obviously they didn't. So the one thing that the Phillies have going for them is Bryce is absolutely scorching red hot. Mm-hmm. The top of their staff with Wheeler and Nola, studs. Mm-hmm. They seem like they just walked through the Braves. Mm-hmm. Both those guys did. But you flip to the other side and you've got the Padres. Their top of the staff isn't too bad either.
No. Manny Machado is.
Yep.
You have to think that Soto's going to get it going sometime. He's got to take off here sooner or later. This is such an even matchup, I think.
But I think you have to give the nod to the bullpen for the Padres. Mm-hmm. That's ultimately what got them to this place. And they went I think they held the Dodgers at least to almost 20, 0 for 20 with runners in scoring position. Didn't give up a run for 3 or 4 games straight. And granted, I was not able to watch the game last night, but yeah, that was to win 3-1 against a team like the Dodgers is huge. Now, with that being said, there's some chat in the interwebs as to the new playoff format. So I want to put this tweet up here real quick. This is from our good friend Jared Carabas, formerly of Starting 9. Now he is with doing stuff with DraftKings, and this is in a response. No, he says if you think it's harder to take 5 days off than it is to win a best of 3 series, San Diego, Philly, Seattle with no home games, and then win the best of 5 without home field advantage, then I don't know what to tell y'all. Stop making excuses. Astros didn't seem to have an issue with the days off. And this gentleman, Dogs Rule, replies, also the year of screwed up playoff baseball, 5 days off, not good in baseball. So with that being said, 2Ks, do you think it made a difference as far as some of the, obviously the Mets have absolutely nothing to complain about. That best of 3 series was in New York. Now with the Dodgers, with the Braves, they did have that time off. However, they have home field advantage.
Sure.
So games 1 and 2 and 5, if needed, would be at their home park. We're seeing it with the Yankees. They're getting pushed right now. And Do you think having to go through that many games during a season, definitely not having I think the All-Star game, the All-Star break is probably the only other break that these guys have that's anywhere close to 5 days. So do you think that is a big deal? In my opinion, you're a professional.
Yeah.
Granted, it's the first time doing this, so there really isn't that playbook set up as to, because we see this a lot in football with the first round buys and stuff like that. Coaches usually have, or the coaching staff has had some experience with that and kind of put a game plan together.
Sure.
But with this, I mean, yes, I realize there's only so many simulated games you can go through. But to me, practice is practice. Yes, you're obviously going to get a team that's red hot because they just played the week before, played 3 games where you're just, you're simulating games, in the cage and stuff like that. And it's probably something we would actually have to ask a major league player to. Sure. And no, that isn't a nice little cue where we got someone in the studio that's going to come sit with us. But I'm with Jared on this one.
Yeah.
I really don't. Obviously it's more beneficial because if you do have guys banged up, they can take that time off. So what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the other side of it, honestly. I mean, you go through a 162-game season. You don't have hardly any days off. You go have an All-Star break that's shorter than the 5 days. Yeah, I don't like it, and I also don't. I'll even go even further. I don't like that they play this as a 5-game series at this point in the playoffs. I think it should be 7 games.
It's a good point.
Right there, right off the bat. I mean, you play the 3-game series as your wild card, round. But once you get to this, to me, it should be a 7-game series. I would like to see the Dodgers play, in a 7-game series. The Braves play that in a 7-game series and see what happens, especially when you're coming off a 5-day break and going into that. So I don't like it. I don't think it's. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. But they've tried to revamp everything in baseball in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, and I don't know if they've gotten any of these rule changes right and the way that they've changed this playoff format to add more teams. Like, I get it, and I know what you're trying to do out of it is add more contenders and take away from all these teams that are just trying to suck and get the first round draft picks, and all that stuff. You're trying to keep as many contenders and make the trade deadline a big deal where there's a lot of teams that are buyers in it. But man, they've changed a lot of shit and revamped a lot of shit, and I gotta be honest, I don't like any of it.
I don't mind the rule with the pitchers where they have to face 3 batters minimum. I
fucking hate it. It takes away from the lefty matchup. Yeah. The strategic, have your one left-handed, matchup in the bullpen that you keep there to face a high-powered left-handed batter, or and vice versa with a righty, a devastating righty to come in there and face a right-handed batter. I hate that shit. How you have to throw for it's so fucking stupid. The shit that they've changed with baseball. Honestly, it's taken the interest of the game away from me a little bit.
Yeah, and the train agrees with you, but kind of piggybacking off of that, we're gonna see next season the start of pitch clocks and no shifts. So even more changes. We'll see how. I really don't see. When it came to the universal DH,
that one doesn't bother me. No. That's the only one that I think they've actually got right.
And thank goodness they did not keep the ghosty runner on second in the postseason. However, if you were watching the Mariners game last night, you probably would have wanted one. But yeah, it's like I said, and we'll keep an eye on that. It's still 3-2, top of the 5th for the Yankees, and they are in Cleveland, so definitely not out of striking distance, that's for sure. Well, 2Ks, let's jump into, I kind of alluded to it. My Irish are terrible.
Dude, they're dog shit.
They are. Before we went live, I told you, I was like, this one sucks more than Marshall.
Yeah. Because you thought that they were starting to get it. I mean,
Yeah.
I said it last week. I thought that they were starting to come around a little bit. I really figured they would win 3 or 4 of these games in a row.
We talked about it last week.
Probably be in trouble when they have to face, USC, obviously.
Syracuse.
But some of these other games, I thought they would just kind of blow right. I thought they'd blow right through Stanford, no problem. But no, yeah, that was awful.
Yeah,
awful.
Well, let's talk
and
about.
To do it like if you go to the West Coast and you go out to Stanford and you show up and look like that, like okay, I can kind of. You went to the West Coast. Nobody really ever travels over there and plays well, but to do it in your own stadium, to lose to 2 pitiful football teams in your own stadium twice in the same year, that's it's inexcusable. It's awful. And you know what? It has to put your boy on the hot seat a little bit. Like, okay, we've have found out he's a great recruiter, but can the guy coach football?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about stuff that doesn't suck. Now that we've gotten that out of the way.
Michigan Wolverine offensive line, they don't suck.
Yeah, and this tweet right here from Paul Bunyan-JI. For those of you on the audio side, it's a picture of Blake Corum running through a hole that I think 2Case and I could run through, holding arms side by side. He says, Blake Corum is really good, but hole, HOL-Y, shit. Yeah, that is... You very rarely see holes that big in high school football, dude.
It's insane. And you know what? It's a combination of everything. Like, they open up holes, and that opens up your first 4 or 5 yards, and then they have 2 running backs that seem to make the right decision all the time.
Yeah.
So that opens it up even more. And then I don't know if I've ever seen a football team that has receivers that block downfield and tight ends that block downfield better than what they do. And then that's what opens up the 60 and 70 yard runs for these guys. It's that I get it. A lot of people, before the game, everybody was saying this Penn State defensive line is so good. They're top 5 in the nation, on and on. I think they were number 2 in the nation. And then after the game, it was they haven't played against anybody. They haven't played against anybody because that's what everybody fucking does when it comes to Michigan. Yeah. But nobody wants to give them any credit. Just like how they moved down. Somehow Clemson jumped them this past week in the rankings, but so they moved down because they had a bad half against Indiana when their running back coach had a fucking seizure and collapsed on the sideline, and they kind of spun their wheels for a quarter in that Indiana game and just didn't look very good, but still ended up fucking winning and covering. They were a half point from covering. Yeah, still ended up winning by 21 though. And then they come out against this Penn State team that a lot of people I think were kind of picking them to potentially go into the big house and win. And they just, if it wasn't for a fucking Clifford 65-yard run that I don't know if that guy's ever ran for over 14 yards on a play, and a batted ball bounces off a helmet and into a hands for a pick six, that game is a fucking blowout. It was a blowout still.
I watched probably 3/4 of this game. I didn't watch the first quarter, but Gus and old buddy that's with him was like, coming out of halftime, they were showing the offensive stats, and I'm like, how is this game this close? And it was 14-16 at half. Michigan was leading 16-14, ended up winning the game 41-17. So yeah, that was to me that was a big statement win. And we are going to see Michigan move up the rankings. They have to because of what we're going to talk about here in a second.
Yeah, but the thing is, I guarantee you that Tennessee will be ahead of them.
You think so?
I guarantee. It's the fucking SEC.
No, it's true. And people will say, well, Tennessee did beat the number 3 team in the country. You only beat the number 10
Alabama
team.
team is not. They're not a playoff team. No. I'll tell you that. You don't give up. You don't see Alabama teams give up 40-some points to anybody, and to do that, and then offensively, they're damn good offensively. And Bryce Young is insane. but they're not. They don't have the star power, even star power with running backs and receivers that we've seen out of a typical Alabama team.
No, and I tell you what, that Hooker kid from Tennessee,
he's tough.
He is good. He is very good. And I was, and for a college player like that, he had some of the most. It looked like he was in total control all the time. Nothing flustered him. He didn't. I mean, if memory serves me correct, he didn't make very many bad decisions. I mean, and if you look at, it's the first time in 15 games or 15 years that 15 games that Tennessee's beaten Alabama, and to do it in their own house had to feel great. Students got a free goal post. I mean, that was pretty awesome. So yeah, big win, and I mean, there was a lot of really, really great games this weekend, but to me that one takes the cake, especially the way it ended, and yeah, obviously Tennessee's going to move up, Alabama's going to move down. It's just a matter of how much how far each one of them go. Obviously Michigan's going to move up. Georgia, I mean, beat the dog shit out of Vandy 55-0. So they're obviously not going anywhere. There's Ohio State had a bye, so they just sat at home and watched all this chaos. Clemson, the number 4 team, beat Florida State 34-28. Utah, big upset over USC 43-42. And your game that got you mad, TCU upsets Oklahoma State 43-40. And we just talked about Syracuse being number 18. They knock off number 15 NC State 24-9. Oklahoma with a big bounce back win over Kansas. However, Kansas didn't have their quarterback. It still kept it really close. I mean, obviously a defensive struggle at 52-42. But Illinois rose a boat all over Minnesota 26-14. And what was it? Did I pass? Texas beat Iowa State 24-21. Ewers is a dude.
Yeah.
He is a dude. And getting back
to that. I mean, go back to talking about Alabama.
I was just going there.
I mean, he doesn't get hurt in that game, and Alabama's got 2 losses at this point.
Yeah, and they
damn near lost that game. And Ewers went out in the second quarter, and they damn near lost it anyways. I mean, so
yeah, it was not good. Turn the volume down here. So you got to be riding high. Your team looked amazing. I think their schedule is setting up for kind of an undefeated matchup with Ohio State. But like you pointed out last week, they still got to play Michigan State. And Michigan State had a big win.
They looked better. They did look a little bit better. I think Wisconsin sucks, but they looked a little bit better. And that's it. Yeah, I said it last week. It's going to be a scary game because Michigan State has nothing that would make their season. You would basically forget about everything that's happened to this point if they were just to win that game. That's the only thing that Michigan State has to play for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So
and if the team is anything like their coach, which last year they were, and Mel Tucker has already I can imagine he's already driven that point home 100 times over since the game last night. So it's probably one of those, everyone counts us out. We got to keep our eye on the prize.
It's what you go. It's what you go to Michigan State to do, isn't it? I mean, that's what you go to Michigan State for, is to beat Michigan
and to light couches on fire.
Yeah, like you're not going to Michigan State to win Big Tens, and you're not going to Michigen State to compete for playoff chances and all any of that stuff. You're just going to Michigan State to try to beat your big brother. That's the only. I mean, that's why you got that nickname. Like that's because that's what you try to do. Like you're never gonna be a college football program that's gonna be flirting with playoff opportunities or winning that conference. You're never gonna do it. So what you're there for is to try to knock off Michigan. That's what you go there for. And they're good at it. They're damn good at that. They have been for years.
I mean, the meme.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, is that a night game?
I'm not sure. I don't know if they've announced a time for that game yet. So I would hope that it is.
Yeah.
Because they've only played the one night game all season long, and that was Hawaii. Like, that game was over at the end of the first quarter.
Right. So what was your, aside from your, Michigan's big win, what was your biggest takeaway from the weekend, college football-wise?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Even as a Michigan fan, I wasn't real sure if they were for real. Because to me, they hadn't played against anybody that is for real. And I truly believe that Penn State's a very good football team. And at the end of the year, they'll be in the top 15 or 20. But I think that they showed that they belong. And I think that they showed that they definitely could go in and do what they did last year and go beat Ohio State again. I think that they're that good. I think they're that good defensively. I think they're that offensive line. They can bully Ohio State just like they did last year. And that's the recipe to be able to beat them. If you can run the football against Ohio State, you can beat them.
Well, it keeps C.J. Stroud on the sideline, too.
That's why, I believe Ohio State goes out next week and takes care of business and beats Iowa by 3 or 4 scores. But if Iowa can run the football and keep the football, their defense is going to – I don't think that Stroud's going to have a game where he goes out and throws 5 or 6 touchdown passes against that Iowa defense. I just don't think he does it. If he takes care of it and doesn't turn the ball over, they're good enough that he's probably going to get his 2 or 3 touchdown passes. But if Iowa can get a run game going and they can maybe turn Ohio State over a time or two, we've seen Iowa beat only. I've watched Iowa beat Michigan plenty of times where Michigan was the way better team, but I've seen Iowa beat Ohio State also. Just a couple years ago, they did it. Now the one thing is that this game is at the shoe, so that makes it a little bit better for Ohio State. But Iowa's not going to be. They're not going to just.
They're
not just going to lay down and get whooped. But you know what? Ohio State's that good to where it wouldn't shock me if it did go. They did. But I'm telling you, it's not going to shock me if it's inside of 14 either.
No, and Iowa does have history of being a spoiler. That's for sure. That's for sure. So they definitely, it's definitely not uncharted waters. That's for sure. Well, 2Ks, let's switch gears and let's talk about some football. As of right now, it looks like the Cowboys and Eagles are tied at 0 with 6.5 left to go in the first quarter. Before we dive into that, I do have some tweets that I want to share, and I did forget this one, 2Ks, when we were talking about the Dodgers. So let's revisit this real quick. Thomas Carrieri, and Thomas, if I mispronounced your name, I do apologize. But if you are a Red Sox fan, this is a good guy to follow. He's quite quippy and does a real good job. He says the Dodgers still haven't won a real World Series. And that was quite the controversy on Twitter because obviously they won the one that they won was indeed the 2020 shortened season. So there's a lot of folks that are saying that, win a World Series when it matters, when there's fans there, when you're playing all 162, and then come talk to us. But before that, I did want to jump. Let's start with this one here. Let's talk about the Lions. Detroit Sports Podcast. If you guys don't follow him, he covers everything Detroit. Very good follow. It's a meme that says bye week 60 Lions, Detroit Lions 57. It says enjoy your Sunday. Lions defense had no answers for the bye week. Love it. Next one is from Barstool Sports. It was a video, but obviously I can't show the video. So it's a picture of Tom Brady reaming ass to his offensive line this afternoon. It says, "I didn't leave my wife and kids to be losing to Kenny fucking Pickett at half." Barstool fucking nailed it. Love it. And yeah, Barstool's another good one if you guys don't follow anyone. But yeah, there's a lot of. It's almost to the point now, 2Ks, that none of this stuff shocks me. I don't know if I'm becoming just the parody in the NFL is just so great that none of this really shocks me or bothers me or anything like that. It's just all right. But like I said, there was some really good games today, or some that I was really looking forward to. There were some that I just figured this is going to be a cakewalk.
Sure.
This is going to be a cakewalk. One of them, 49ers at Falcons. Falcons 28-14. 28-14. Marcus Mariota, I mean, looks like a guy.
Yeah.
And with a team that, and granted, this was without Cordell Patterson yet again. This team's looking legit. They're 3-3 right now. And so are the 49ers right now. They're 3-3. On paper, this game should have been at least flipped.
Well, it's like watching San Francisco the last 2 weeks and how good that defense is and how good the pass rush is and how good the pass rush is with only having to rush 4. Like it's and then to show up and play like they did today, it's just like it truly is. It truly is with the NFL. It's any given Sunday. Like the parity, it's so close. There's really not a team. I mean, outside of probably maybe Buffalo, this Philadelphia team has looked really good. You can't ever count out Patrick Mahomes.
Nope.
But after that, it just seems like
it's a big gap.
Yeah. And I mean, we watched a Miami Dolphins team take out the Bills earlier this season, and I get it. The Dolphins started off, what was it, 4-0, and everything. Everybody was, kind of talking like they're the team to look out for. Well, they've kind of showed their true self here the last couple of weeks that they still got a ways to go, and they haven't had Tua, and Tua does make a difference, but I don't think Tua. I'm not ready to say that Tua makes that big of a difference, So, but no, it's crazy how the NFL has played out so far, and then you look at like Green Bay, like
They're
today.
terrible. Terrible.
This is a team that for the last 2 regular seasons they've dominated. Behind MVP. Aaron Rodgers for 2 years in a row, and man, it does not look pretty right now. The Devontae Adams not being there, Rodgers does not have a go-to receiver. I think a little bit you're seeing spurts of Lazard being that guy to step up, but Lazard, I mean, that's a fucking poor man's Devontae. Like, it's no knock on him, but dude, Devontae's like maybe the best wide receiver in the NFL, and if he's not, he's in the top 2 or 3. And Rodgers not having that. Rodgers is damn good, but he can give a lot of that credit of those last 2 MVPs that he's won to his boy Devontae.
Yeah, he definitely had a hand in that. That is for sure. That is for sure.
And then I think that they kind of expected that defense to be really, really good this year, and that defense has been just average. They haven't been great. And they got freaking torched today by the Jets' offensive line, and the Jets just ran the ball all over them. I mean,
yes, they did.
This Breece Hall kid is going to be a stud.
Him and Carter both.
And Michael Carter is no slouch at all. Nope. I mean, and Carter had a great season last year as a rookie, but I think they just saw the upside with this Breece Hall kid, where we're going to draft another rookie running back. And after seeing it, I think it was a very good choice because for us fantasy lovers, and I was saying it before we even went on air, Breece Hall is going to be a top 5 fantasy running back next year. Like that, he's that good.
And I made fun of Tyler quite a lot, quite frequently during our on your fantasy drafts. It's like, dude, why are you drafting all these Jets players? Are you why? Well,
they're 2 more coaches that fall from that same coaching tree. Like I get it that Rob Sala is a defensive mind, but you have Matt LaFleur's younger brother as the offensive coordinator there. So like those guys have it figured out on how you build an offense in the NFL and to have success. They have that part of it figured out. So you might want to hire those guys or take a couple pages out of their books.
Yeah, and Zach Wilson didn't do anything spectacular today because he really didn't need to.
Doesn't need to.
It's like you already alluded to. Hall had 20 carries for 116 yards and a touchdown. Berrios kind of got the whole thing started with a big 20-yard run, a touchdown run. But what gets me 2Ks is Aaron Rodgers goes 26 of 41, 246 yards and a touchdown with a QBR, a whopping 17 for a QBR. They lose Randall Cobb. He had 1 catch for 8 yards. and that was his only target. Bob Tunyon was his favorite guy today, 10 catches, 90 yards. Lazard did have a touchdown. But what gets me is that the past couple weeks, 2Ks, and there was, Rodgers had the thumb, so how much did that? But the game plan they put together must have included don't block any of the Jets' defensive players, because it seemed like Aaron was running for his life the entire game, and it seemed like no one really gave a shit. They're like, all right, well, they'll just. And I think it's Williams for the Jets. Holy shit, that dude! I mean, he had sacks, he blocked a kick. I don't remember a game where there was a blocked field goal, one or two blocked punts. It's like, holy shit, what is going on here? But it seems to me that, and I would really have to bring the stats up from last week on this, but when Green Bay was rolling, Aaron Jones and Dillon were just, they were rolling. They're the reason that offense was clicking. They had 60 yards rushing today. Dillon had 10 carries for 41. Jones had 9 for 19. Jones did have 3 catches for 25 yards. Dillon had 4 catches for 11 yards. So less than 20 carries. Well, they only ran the ball 20 times, and one of them, it was probably Rodgers was escaping. He had 1 carry for 0 yards, so let's not even count that. When you flip the script over here, Hall 20 carries, 116 yards. Carter 6 carries, 41 yards, and they just made the Packers look ridiculous. And getting to your point about the Packers defense, before we jump into that, I'm pretty sure this is Aaron's worst loss at home when he's played in all 4 quarters. If you told me that was going to happen before the season started against the Jets at home, I would have told you you're a moron, or you've been listening to Gary Vee way too much. But this Packers team's in trouble in a big way, because as they're not even treading water anymore, the Vikings are just doing their Vikings things. Let's talk about the Patriots-Browns here for a second, because we get to the box score. Zappe threw for over 300 yards today, 2 Ks, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Is this dude a guy? I mean,
he's pretty good.
This is against the Browns defense.
He's pretty good, and there was so much hype around Mac Jones and I'm not taking it yet. Like, I still don't think that he's that great. I don't see what the hype was. Like, their defense was so good, and they relied on that, and Mac Jones was just playing decent football, and at the time, Mac Jones was playing better football than the rest of that rookie class. Well, that rookie class, turned out they weren't near as good as what I think a lot of people expected. No. So I think so many people were comparing him to just that rookie class and why he was great, and he wasn't. So to me, this kid, if he comes, and Belichick's not the type of coach that's just going to roll right back into Mac Jones. Like, if this is a better option and they're playing better football and they're competing, they're going to roll with this kid, because we know the Patriots are going to play very good defense because it's Bill Belichick's team, and they're always and that's just what they do. So if this kid can play and take care of the football and not turn it over and keep doing what he is doing, look, I get it. It's the Browns. And week before, I get it. It's the Lions. But still, you got to start somewhere. And where this kid has started and how he's played, he's been damn good. And and before the Lions game, it was the Packers that he damn near took down. Probably should have took him out. And in Lambeau, that was where he started his first game. So yeah, he's been good. He's been impressive.
I'm looking at the receiving numbers here. I wouldn't be able to pick any of these guys out of a lineup, and he's throwing for 300. He did have a lost fumble, but this is against a Cleveland defense that's supposed to be top notch. So now, One thing that I did want to put into perspective, 2Ks. Zappy threw for more yards today than Aaron Rodgers, than Tommy. So I'm not saying that Miles Sanders rushing touchdown. Let's go. Doesn't help my parlay, but it helps my fantasy team. But no, I'm definitely not saying that Bailey Zappi is the new Tom Brady or anything like that, but kid's been in two very difficult situations and should have come out on top on both of them. So he might be the answer in New England, but then again, I know this isn't overreaction Monday, but it's good. Show me a few more games.
Sure.
Show me a few more games. And to your point, I think, yes, he has earned the nod to kind of keep the reins until otherwise. We already talked about the Jets Packers. Colts squeak one out. Now, Jacksonville has kind of been their nemesis here lately. They're the ones that kept them out of the playoffs last year. And then they go down to Jacksonville and get blanked. And it was Trevor Lawrence's one of his best games as a pro. And I think Matt Ryan threw for almost 350 yards. No, almost 400. He went 4. When's the last time the Colts had a quarterback throw 58 times? It's gonna.
And you got to go back to Peyton.
Yeah. Because every other team they usually have a running back or running backs, and and especially in this game, you would think, well, they have Jonathan Taylor. JT wasn't playing today, so they had Hicks wasn't playing, or Hines, so they were down to Philip Lindsay, who they just brought up from the just re-signed last week, and this Jackson character that had 12 carries, 42 yards, and a tud. But Matty Ice, 42 of 58, 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, which is huge. It seems like he's been throwing more interceptions than touchdowns lately. On the flip side, Trevor Lawrence goes 20 of 22, 165 and a touchdown. But they had more of the running game going. ETN had 86 yards, Hasty 57, Robinson had 54, Lawrence himself had 23 and 2 rushing touchdowns. So yeah, that was a nail biter going down to the end. Pittman Jr. has a huge game. I'm definitely not saying that the Colts are world beaters, but it was good to see them to get a win in a game, probably rightfully so that they should. I know Doug Peterson is kind of reestablishing dominance there in Jacksonville, so I think it's going to take a while, but he's definitely got things on the right track. They're definitely not terrible like they were last year. We already talked about the Vikings a little bit. They win 24-16 in Miami. Kind of pedestrian numbers from Cousins, 20 of 30, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns. I wish you would have thrown one of those to Justin Jefferson, but you didn't. We already talked about Tua being out, and Thompson, his backup, goes out with I believe it was a thumb injury. He went 7 for 13 for 89 yards, and Teddy Two Gloves, who was the backup, got taken out last week because of concussion protocol. So why he didn't make the start, I don't know. But Teddy goes 23 of 34, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. So now, mind you, this is the second and third string quarterback, 2Ks. Tyreek Hill, 12 catches, 177 yards. Jalen Waddle, 6 catches, 129 yards. This team knows how to. They definitely know how to sling the ball. That is for sure. Now, if I in the 24-16, 8 points. I'm not saying if I didn't watch a minute of this game, but if Teddy plays the whole game, that's either closer or they might actually win. They might actually win. I do think the Dolphins are for real. I do. It's just all gonna, and we're not even sure when Tua's coming back, and if he does, is he going to be the same player? Getting two of those that close has got to make you a little gun shy, wouldn't you think? I know for me it would. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Bengals at Saints, 2Ks, 30-26. This one, the Saints led for most of this game. And it's like, what in the hell is going on with the Bengals? The Bengals, with this win, sit at 3-3. I think a lot of us thought the Saints were kind of sneaky, but Jameis has been hurt. I do think Jameis has been hurt. Michael Thomas has been hurt. Chris Olave's been hurt. So a lot of their offense is second stringers. Sure. Leading into the season, we all thought that yes, this defense is going to be legit because they were last year. But Kamara has a big game, 19 carries, 99 yards. Burrow kind of leads. He draws all the attention. 28-37, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and I believe he had a rushing touchdown as well. Yep. So for those of you that played Joe Burrow in your fantasy, you were loving life. And continuing on the stud train, Jamar Chase, 7 catches, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So yeah, if you were fortunate enough to pair Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase, your fantasy team's probably looking really, really good this week. But yeah, that loss takes New Orleans to 2-4. I have a feeling that we're going to see Jameis back at the helm here very soon. He was listed as the emergency backup, whatever that means. It's one of those things. Why not just play? Mm-hmm. Why not just play? But, that's why we're sitting behind microphones and not actually on the sidelines making these decisions. But one of the games I was keeping a very, very close eye on, not for anything but my own enjoyment, was Ravens at Giants, 2Ks. Ravens at Giants. The Ravens were leading 10-7 going into half. The Giants come out with a win 24-20. This Giants team, 2Ks, is 5-1. 5-1. Now, granted, a lot of folks will tell you that the Ravens were the hardest team they played so far.
Sure.
Are you drinking the Giants Kool-Aid, 2Ks, or is this a fad? Will they kind of do the whole Giants thing in the past and just crumble? Or is this Baltimore team just not really as good as we thought they were? Or a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both. I think the Giants are pretty good. I think the Giants have a pretty good defense. I think the Giants have they have Saquon Barkley, and Saquon Barkley is running he's running like the best running back in the NFL right now. They still have Daniel Jones as their quarterback. They still have pretty suspect wide receivers. I think this is going to hold up? No, I do not. But at the same time, I don't think that the Ravens are very good either. And I think that I wasn't drinking the Lamar Jackson MVP Kool-Aid for the first 3 or 4 weeks. Look, I still think Lamar Jackson he's a freak athlete, and I think he's a very good quarterback, but I don't think he's an MVP caliber quarterback in this league. Can he do it, have a season like he did where he won the MVP? Yes. Do I think he can do that multiple years in his career? No. I don't think he can do that. So no, I think it's both sides. I think the Giants eventually will fall off. This Eagles team that's playing right now is the best team in that division. I think they win it. I think Dallas, when they get Dak back, I think Dallas is the team that can compete for a wild card. But this Eagles team might be the best team in the NFL period right now, where we're at.
They might be the most complete team. I'll give you that one. The only team that they're definitely the best team in the NFC, hands down.
Jalen Hurts is maybe not as fast as Lamar Jackson, but he's a bigger threat, so he's more of a goal line threat to me than Jackson is, because he can just drop a shoulder and pick. He's kind of similar to Cam Newton, not quite as big, but kind of similar there. And Jalen Hurts is a better thrower of the football than both of those, than Cam Newton and Lamar Jackson.
Oh, 100%.
So
100%.
And the weapons that he has. I mean, you bring over A.J. Brown and put him in with this offense. And then the way that Miles Sanders has been running the ball, the offensive line, the defense, like, they're so good. I mean, there's really not a weak spot that this team has at all. And that's, to me, right now, why I think they're the best team in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I'm I'm happy for Saquon because even going back to when he was in college, I mean, that was kind of, we were definitely on Saquon watch on the show. I mean, how could you not? I think the only player that we were more a proponent of would be Jonathan Taylor, and we were high on him while a lot of other folks were not. I still don't know why you wouldn't be, but yeah, I'm glad for him. Still not sold on Danny Dimes. However, fun fact is Danny Dimes is the third leading rushing quarterback per game. Wrap your mind around that one. It's number 1 is Lamar. Number 2 is Jalen. Number 3, Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes, kind of a shocking stat, but it's going to be interesting to see how the Giants play the other teams in that division. I think that's what's going to separate them, and that's if they are going to crumble, if they are going to come back down to earth, that's where it's going to happen. That's where it's going to happen. Well, let's go from one running quarterback to another. Are the Cardinals dead?
No, because they're going to get DeAndre Hopkins back, and this offense is going to be completely different. I still don't think that they're a playoff team, but I don't think they're dead. I think they're going to win some games now because DeAndre Hopkins changes that offense.
Look what he did when he was out last year.
Yeah, but the only thing that's a little bit worrisome there for me is right at the tail end of that game today, Hollywood Brown went down with what looked like a pretty bad ankle injury. So, man, Hopkins was damn good there last year and didn't have a Marquise Brown on the other side. He had, AJ Green, who's not AJ Green anymore.
No.
And so I was kind of looking forward to, not that I'm a Cardinals fan, but I have Kyler Murray as my quarterback in a couple of fantasy leagues. So was kind of looking forward to Hopkins coming back with Marquise Brown. And I thought, with Kyler's running game and then having those two studs at receiver, his fantasy numbers are going to be great. So I don't think that this team is dead, but at the same time, they're treading a thin line there.
Yes.
And I think their coach sucks. Cliff Kingsbury is awful. I'm just going to get that out there, right? Throw that out there too. That guy sucks.
Yeah, they lose a nail biter, 19-9. Looks like there was one touchdown scored, which was Kenneth Walker, rushing tud in the 4th. Bucks Steelers sneak out a win. Just have no idea how.
Tom Brady made the biggest mistake ever.
Yes.
Of coming back. Like, dude, the guy you have to know when enough is enough. Like, and it was enough, man. You were the GOAT. Mm-hmm. You won more. You have more rings than probably anybody will ever fucking have.
Yes.
As an NFL player, especially an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Dude, what were you thinking? Like, you're coming back. This offensive line is awful.
Yes.
As we see today, where he's just chewing their ass.
Injuries decimated that.
You can't move anymore. No. You have no ability to move. The thing is, what sucks about your offensive line is your interior, and what have you been known for your entire career? Being able to step up in the pocket, and you can't do that with this offensive line. It's terrible. It's awful. It was. They got beat today by one of the worst teams in the NFL. I mean, I truly believe they're maybe the worst team, and they get beat today by them. And this is going to be where people come out of the woodworks now and just start ripping Brady. And it's like you have to know when it's time to get out, and you got to get out when you're on. Like, you were going to get out. You could have got out of there and been done off a Super Bowl.
Yep.
And instead, you came back for another one, and you were decent, and you got close again. But there was never really a time where you thought that team last year was going to compete for the Super Bowl.
No.
They just weren't. They were a level below some other teams in the league. And then this year, to come back, like, what the fuck are you thinking coming back into this? Where did you think coming back onto this team that you were going to have a chance? Like, I have to believe when you got 7 of those damn things, you have a pretty good fucking idea about what you're going to need going into the going through the offseason. Either we have it or we don't. And I have to believe someone as smart as him had to believe we don't have it.
No. And it ultimately might cost him his marriage and a whole shit ton of money. So,
yeah.
Let's see here. Rams beat the Panthers. They probably should have, and they did. I would have thought it would have been a bigger margin than 24-10.
Hey, I saw today that Allen Robinson scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Mm-hmm. Stafford found somebody else out there that didn't have a cup on the back of his jersey. Like, there really is another receiver that exists on that team.
Yeah, it's amazing when you spread the ball around what happens. But yeah, let's wrap the show up with some Bills Chiefs talk. This game was a defensive struggle, or defensive game in the first half. It was 10-10. Both teams really had a hard time getting started. Mahomes throws a pick in the end zone. I really needed Travis Kelce to score the first touchdown, which he did not. We did see Juju and Miko Hardman get into the end zone. But I think this was a preview of the AFC Championship game, to be honest with you. And if it is, it's going to be another hell of a game. I mean, both teams were absolutely amazing. Allen goes 27 of 40 for 329 and 3 touchdowns. Mahomes 25 of 40, 338, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And one of the picks was late in that game, so that was pretty costly. And yeah, Kelce did not find the end zone. He did go over 100 yards today, eight catches for 108 yards. Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis were probably the two storylines here. Diggs grabs 10 balls for 148 yards and a touchdown. Gabe Davis, 3 catches, 74 yards and a touchdown. And kind of the thing to take away from that 2Ks is that they each had a long reception of over 30 yards. Going into this game, it's like, all right, it's hard to pick one or the other offenses. Neither one of them run the ball a lot. Both quarterbacks like to sling it and sling it often. Buffalo, in my opinion, has better weapons when it comes to receivers. But the big thing with me is Buffalo has a way better defense than the Chiefs do.
Yeah, that's what gets it with me, because like weapons-wise, I would almost say it's a wash. Like,
yeah.
Just Travis Kelce has to count as like 2, because I think Kelce's like, he's that X factor where there's not a caliber player on. Like, Buffalo has great receivers, Gabriel Davis and Diggs. I take over any receiver that the Chiefs have, both of them. But that Kelce factor is like he makes up for 2. You know, that kind of evens those guys out. So I truly believe that's pretty even. But defensively. Yeah, you have to give the nod to Buffalo. And then you add Von Miller to that. That makes a huge – I mean, you're adding a guy like Von Miller to set up to get past the Chiefs in the playoffs.
And mind you, the Chiefs were, I think, starting 2 rookies in that secondary, which, I mean, Allen does go for 329, but we saw in that playoff game, hell, there was like 900 yards of total offense between the two, and I don't know how many points scored, and it was electric. I mean, there was more points scored in the last 2 minutes of that game than there was in the first half of this game. So if you put a gun to me, because they were both 4-1 going into this, if you put a gun to my head and told me to pick one, I was definitely going with Buffalo. Would it have shocked me if Kansas City pulled this off? Absolutely not. You can never. It's not smart money to bet against Pat Mahomes, but I would have thought that this would have been a little bit more than 4 points.
Yeah. When Buffalo scored to go ahead with what was it, minute? It was like a minute 40 left. I was like, too much time. Too much time. And then Mahomes goes out and throws just a uncharacteristic pick.
Is that the weird sidearm one?
Should have just threw the ball away. Like, you had nothing. Nothing was there. That's the one thing you can kind of say about Mahomes is sometimes he just tries to do too much. And when you have, how do you bottle up talent like that, you know, and the ability that he can throw from every angle. He can use his feet. He uses his feet to set up angles that, you know, other quarterbacks just can't find. How do you bottle all that talent up? And that's one of those very, very few downsides that comes with being that fucking good, is sometimes you just try to do too much with not with nothing there. And in that situation, that's what he did. But there's not a quarterback in the game that I don't think I would rather have in that situation. Like even Aaron Rodgers maybe 7-8 years ago, but at this point now, Patrick Mahomes is the guy I want in that situation. So,
and in ESPN pregame, the morning show this morning, Teddy Bruschi was kind of alluding to this right now is the modern day Brady Manning. When Brady was in New England, Peyton was in Indy. This was the matchup you wanted to see. Everyone wanted to see it, and we were almost guaranteed to get it in the playoffs. So Buffalo moves to 5-1, Kansas City 4-2. I really don't think this game is going to really, as far as the outcome of the season, I really don't think it's going to matter for either team.
Buffalo beat them last year. Buffalo beat them at about the same time in the season last year, and Kansas City, and they played maybe like the greatest football game. We were recording that night. You remember that shit when I think like Kansas City took the lead with like 50 seconds to go, and in the 6-minute drive home, I think there was 2 touchdowns that I missed, and then got home in time to watch Mahomes take it the other way with like 14 seconds left and get him into field goal range to win the game. It was like one of the most incredible endings of a game ever.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I now that you mentioned that, I do remember texting you going, "Holy shit, you left too early," because you're like, "Nah, it's tied. I don't need it. All right, well, you missed it. Yeah, that's and we got a score of 14-0 with 8:30 left to go in the first half. Who scored the other Eagles touchdown?
A.J. Brown.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where that game ends up and how. Because I mean, is it going to come down to Cooper Rush?
Yeah, I think the Eagles kind of just have their way with them in this game.
Yeah.
But no knock on Cooper Rush. Like, that guy has done nothing but win. And after seeing how bad Dallas was against Tampa in Week 1, it was like, man, they're just not good. And then Cooper Rush kind of showed people that they are pretty good. That defense is good. They can hang their hat on that, how good that defense is.
Yes.
And then Cooper Rush has just taken care of the football and made the plays that he needs to make. And
if you're a Dallas fan, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to be happy.
You lose tonight, and I think that makes you 4-2, and then Dak comes back. When you lost the first game of the season and you knew that Dak was going to be gone for 5 or 6, I bet your ass you didn't bet that they were going to be 4-2 when he came back.
No, not even close. All right. Well, 2Ks, we gave the 2K crew about 20 extra minutes, huh? And just a score update before we do get out of here: 17-0. Elliott did kick a 51-yard field goal. So, all right, 2Ks. Did we miss anything? Do we need to add anything? We obviously don't need to throw any more dirt on my Irish grave. That's for sure.
They've already done that to themselves.
That's true, and they've taken me down with them. But you know what? Like I said before, we lived through the Charlie Weiss era. Yeah. This is. The good part is one would only hope there's only up. So, and now I mean definitely the season's done. So let's work on some shit, figure some shit out, and let's look ahead to 2023. All right, well, 2K crew, we'll get you out of here on that. Everyone have a great week. I'm sure there's going to be some more wild and crazy stuff happen in the NFL between the time that I hit end this show until we meet again. So keep an eye on that. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.